Analyzing real-life case studies help one build skills that come handy at job in many professions, including legal, medical, and business. You can read 100 case studies, you can memorize a dozen different analytical frameworks, and you can sit in on every single talk. But the day a real decision lands on your desk, or that exact moment you are sitting in a high-stakes interview for a junior executive role, you freeze. Why does that happen? Because a business case, much like a real world business situation, does not explain itself. It simply hands you the facts a manager actually had, the intense pressure, the messy office politics, the missing numbers, and then it goes completely silent. It expects you to make the call. So, the skill you need is not reading faster, it is thinking better. In this masterclass, we will understand a repeatable 6-move method that you can use on any case and the critical nuances that separate a sharp executive analysis from a shallow one. Way back almost a century ago, a Harvard professor named Charles Gregg wrote an essay with a brilliant but a kind of uncomfortable title, Because Wisdom Can't Be Told. His point was incredibly simple. The mere act of passively listening to wise advice does almost nothing for you. Knowledge becomes useful only when something dynamic happens inside the learner, when you do the heavy lifting, when you do the thinking. That's exactly why a case study has no answer key. Business is not some exact science with one best answer that you can see in a book. Your real job is to step into the manager's shoes, face their exact dilemma, and decide. You have to build that wisdom yourself. And in 2026, this matters more, not less. Sure, you can ask an AI for an answer in 5 seconds. But if that executive judgment does not actually form inside of you, you have learned absolutely nothing. The case method is how you build that judgment ability, case by case. We use a 6-move method here. The first move is all about completely rewiring how you read. Look, amateurs attack a case with a highlighter, reading front to back like it is a textbook chapter or a bedtime story. That is passive reading, and I guarantee it will fail you in a live scenario. Instead, the professionals use an active 2-pass sequence. Imagine you are handed a 20-page case on a failing retail merger and you have got limited time to prepare. Then you apply the 2-pass reading. First, go fast. Literally, give a quick cursory reading. You are just looking to map the terrain. Ask only, what is this case about and what kind of information am I dealing with? Pay some attention to the exhibits because those tables and charts at the back usually carry valuable information. Then go to the next reading. Go slow, read with a note taker, not a highlighter. And here is a massive mindset shift. Make the manager's problem your problem, their dilemma your dilemma. One practical pro tip from the experts: read the first and the last section first. That is usually where the actual situation and the core tension are sitting in plain sight. Now let's go to move 2. I really want you to pay attention here, and it is the step most people completely skip. Before you analyze a single thing, you must classify the situation. Treat this matrix as your analytical anchor. Most business cases fall into one of the 4 distinct types, and each type must be analyzed differently. Row 1 is a problem case. Something important happened, but we don't know why. A new sales strategy totally failed, or a founder's best market is quietly the least profitable. Your analytical goal here is diagnosis, finding that root cause. Row 2 is a decision. You have to choose between distinct options. Do we launch the product or not? Do we open offline stores or stay strictly online? Here you need to isolate the options, define your criteria, and gather hard evidences. Row 3 is an evaluation situation. You need to judge the worth of a manager, a business unit, or strategy. You have to be brutally honest about both its strengths and its weaknesses. Row 4 is a rule. This is a pure calculation with one correct method or one correct answer, like finding a break-even point or computing a net present value and others. Why is this metric that we see absolutely critical? Because if you mistakenly treat a problem case like a decision case, you will start choosing between options before you have even diagnosed what went wrong. Naming the type first tells you exactly which analytical tools you need to reach out for. Move 3, find your protagonist, the actual person who has to pull the trigger and act and stand exactly where they stand. Feel their pressures, look for their blind spot, and ask yourself a sharp question: why is this person stuck? That helps you diagnose the core issues or the central problem. Then you have to define the real problem on your own words, because here is the catch, and this is so true in real life as well. Most cases never state the problem cleanly for you. Managers are constantly juggling facts and numbers without ever naming the actual issue before you. Even after diagnosing the problem or the issue right, you may end up with a weak or wrong set of objectives. If an interviewer or a senior partner tells you to simply grow the business, beware. That fuzzy objective is going to produce an incredibly fuzzy analysis. You have to translate that into a sharp objective, something that is measurable and time bound. Don't settle for grow the business. Frame it as return this Asian unit to profitability within the next 12 months. A sharp objective forms the foundation of a sharp strategy. This brings us to move 4, which is your analytical core. Honestly, this is exactly where your confidence in an interview or a boardroom is going to come from. You must form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is just a tentative position that you can test against the evidences. It's not your final answer. If it is a decision case, plant the flag by picking the option you suspect is strongest and commit to testing it. If it is a problem case, pick the root cause you are most certain of and chase it down. Now here is the nuance that really frees up a lot of anxious junior analysts. A hypothesis is never simply wrong. It only fails when you cannot argue it logically from the evidence provided in that case. And even if it fails, your work is not wasted. By then, you know the case completely cold and your second hypothesis is going to come together incredibly fast. So do not wait around for absolute certainty before taking a position. Take the position first, then test it. Once you have that hypothesis, your job totally flips into move 5. You are no longer looking for something, you are proving something. For that, go back to the case data to gather qualitative reasoning and quantitative numbers to back up your position. Pull all those scattered figures from the exhibits together. You would be surprised how often a few seemingly inconsequential scattered numbers add up to the absolute strongest part of your core argument. And remember, your criteria for choosing are rarely handed over to you. You have to derive them from the situation. A lot of times, your criteria would come from the objectives that you have set. Finally, you must convert your conclusion into a sequenced action plan. If you just tell an interview panel or a board to fix the supply chain, you will fail, full stop. A recommendation without a concrete action plan is just a generic opinion. Instead, structure it chronologically. For example, month 1, stabilize current vendors and supply chain. Month 6, launch the new product. Month 12, evaluate market share and adjust. You have to think in practical and real-world terms. That brings us to the final move 6, which is the ultimate stress test. And honestly, this is the step that amateurs almost always skip. But it is the exact move that makes you look deeply prepared in the room. Here, you must turn around and ruthlessly attack your own position. If you are in a final round interview and you pitch a highly aggressive pricing strategy, you cannot wait for the interviewer to find the flaws. You must proactively ask yourself, what is the biggest weakness in my recommendation? What is the strongest alternative to my plan? How would I handle the downside of what I am proposing? A great setting for this is to look at the views of others on the issue to identify where your blind spots are. But if you don't have access to immediate feedback, question yourself aggressively. Every single strategic position has a weak point. You want to be the one who finds it before your boss or a board partner points it out to you. This is the baseline difference between an answer you are just blindly hoping is right and a deeply analytical position you can rigorously defend under fire. Let's pull all this together into our executive mastery summary checklist. To survive the boardroom, you must execute these 6 core analytical moves. Read actively using the 2-pass method. Name the type of case or situation first to choose your tools. Stand with the protagonist and define the real problem with sharp, measurable objectives. Form a hypothesis as a tentative position to test. Gather your proof from the exhibits and build a chronological sequenced action plan. Stress test your work by turning around and attacking your own position first. Notice what we never actually did here? We never blindly went looking for the correct answer, because a single static answer was never the point. The point of the case method is to build your executive judgment, a critical thinking framework you can pull up instantly in high pressure situations for the rest of your career. Wisdom cannot be told, but it absolutely can be built, one case, one decision at a time. If this framework gave you a clearer lens to navigate complex business dilemmas, make sure to hit subscribe and let me know in the comments below. Take these tools, step firmly into manager's shoes, and start building your strategic wisdom today. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.